Have you ever felt that loving God with your whole heart is seen as strange in today's world? That deep, soulful devotion is often labeled as too much or even madness. But think about it. The greatest souls who left their footprints on the sands of time, didn't they all have one thing in common? A quiet surrender to something higher, to God. Today, I want to share what my mom, a woman full of wisdom and love, taught me about spiritual life. Her words have changed how I look at devotion forever. Mom says something so simple, yet so powerful. You don't need to give up your family or friends to grow spiritually. You just need to do your duties selflessly, without attachment, without expectations, and surrender it all at the feet of the divine. Think about that. Isn't that freeing? She continues with a beautiful metaphor that still echoes in my heart. A householder should be like a bird, perched lightly on a dry twig. The bird knows the twig may break any second, so it stays ready to fly. That's how we must hold on to relationships and possessions. Gently, gratefully, but never clinging. She once told me, running away from life doesn't make you spiritual. Facing it with strength and surrender does. That's why Krishna didn't let Arjuna escape the battlefield. Life itself is a battlefield, messy, loud, painful, but also sacred. Just as we can't run away from death, we can't run from life either. But we can rise above both by living with awareness and love. Let me tell you a story she shared, one that still gives me chills. Sage Narada once asked Lord Vishnu, "Is there anyone more devoted than me?" Vishnu smiled and took him to visit a poor farmer, someone barely surviving, yet glowing with inner peace. The farmer welcomed them like kings, feeding them all he had, while he and his family went to bed hungry. And despite his struggles, every single day, twice a day, he lit a lamp and sang the Lord's name. Narada was confused. "But I chant your name all day long," he said. So Vishnu gave him a test. Carry a vessel filled with oil around a mountain without spilling a single drop. Narada did it. When he returned, Vishnu asked, "How many times did you remember me?" "None," Narada replied. "I was focused on not spilling the oil." Then came the truth. This farmer, in his poverty and hardship, remembers me while carrying the weight of his whole life, and he asks for nothing. That is true devotion. Mom says, true spiritual practice isn't just sitting in lotus posture. It's not about rituals or outer form. Look at Mirabai. Look at the gopis of Vrindavan. They didn't pray with rules. They prayed with their hearts until every breath, every tear became prayer itself. They became the offering. What remains, she says, is pure love. Real prayer isn't a wish list. It's not saying, "God, give me this, don't give me that." That's not prayer. That's bargaining. True prayer is when you whisper, "I don't know what's best for me, but I trust you." In the Bhagavatam, it's said, you can realize God by thinking of him constantly, in any way, like a parent, a child, a lover, or a friend. Mom says, see him as your creator, your protector, your final home. Open your heart. Love him. Because love is like a sail on a boat. It lifts you. Without it, rowing through life is so hard. But with love, the journey becomes effortless. And there's something else she says. Something that touches me deeply every time I hear it. The tears that fill your eyes when you remember God. Those tears can purify your heart more than hours of meditation, because they come from the soul. True prayer comes from brokenness, from surrender, from love, not fear, not greed. A so-called believer might say the same words, But without heart, it's just noise. Real prayer is surrender, no demands, no expectations. Just the soul bowing down saying, I am yours. So if you're listening today, maybe you were meant to hear this. Maybe your heart needed this reminder. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to renounce the world. All you need is to love Him sincerely, humbly, wholeheartedly. That is enough. That is everything. Thanks for understanding this video.